100, 98.3 FM, anywhere in the world on the TuneIn Radio app. Glad you could be with us this morning. We are glad to be with you. I am on location at Broome High School as the 3A Upper State track qualifications begin today. Dean back in the Beacon Drive-In studios, and let's bring in Dean, our second guest of the program on the Sign Force Hotline, Coach Mark Huff. Coach, I cannot say your name without Coach in front of it. So Coach Mark Huff, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We are privileged to have you on in a special time in your life as you, this past week, decided to step down as the head basketball coach of Gaffney. Before we get into all the things that you have accomplished, what led into your decision to step down as the head coach?
Well, I've been coaching basketball for 37 years. I started way back in 1981-82 season when I was doing my student teaching at Gaffney County High School in Newport, Tennessee. And the good Lord called me to coach when I was in high school, so I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I've just gone at it as hard as I could, as best I could, and given it everything I've had since then. And I just feel like I've given out. And I guess it's kind of hard to explain, but there just comes a time where you feel like you can't give to the kids what they need, and I just feel like right now is that time for me.
Coach Huff joining us this morning on the Saturday Sports Report. Coach, we're honored to have you on. I know it's a busy time for you because of the decision, so we're honored to have you on this morning for a little bit of time with us here in Spartanburg and in Gaffney at 98.3 FM. Coach, you have been a very successful coach at Gaffney. When you really sit down, I know this probably hasn't hit yet, Coach, but when you sit down and look back at all the years, what moment are you most proud of in your time at Gaffney?
Well, if you just pick out a moment, that's going to be hard to do, but just the success that we had. Gaffney, when I first came in 1997, and still is now, it's a football school. I mean, everybody knows us for football, and Gaffney's won more state championships in football than any school in South Carolina history. But people, when I left J.L. Mann, told me, they said, "Man, you're crazy going to Gaffney. That's a football school. You can't win down there." And my reply always was, if they're that good in football, there's got to be 5 guys in that school that can play basketball.
That's right.
And that was the approach I took, and we came, and when we worked hard. In the first couple of years, we had, average teams, and then we just kept working, and then when you go undefeated in 2003, and then win the 3 state championships in a row that no 4A school has ever done, I guess that would have to be up there as one of my fondest memories. But the chance just to work with some great kids and some great assistant coaches and administrators, is something I'll always remember. And actually went over to the Upward Star Center last night and watched some of the young kids play in a little AAU tournament they had, and one of my former players was refereeing, and Tron Dukes, and got to speak to him and his family, and he's got 2 beautiful little girls. So just the relationships that you form and over the years, and those kids that ever played for me, whether it be at Gaffney or Man or Southside, are like my sons. I've got one daughter, Mary Ann, but I've probably got 200 sons. So they'll always be part of the family, and it's great to see them and spend time with them.
Well, Coach, before we get into the players and the assistants that you've coached over your time at Gaffney, let's talk about this very last team this past year that you had the opportunity to coach that'll go down as the last team you did coach, with a couple of pretty good players. Obviously didn't finish how the team wanted it, but Bradley Childers, one of the players that jumps out to my memory, is one of those that's got to be in your memory as well as being one of those all-time just good athletes.
Yeah, Bradley, I tell you, he is a tremendous athlete. He plays as hard as probably any kid I've ever coached. I mean, he knows one speed, and that's full speed ahead, wide open, and, almost so hard he plays, it's almost a fault. He's had some injuries, just going at it. I mean, just playing like he does. But that's him. That's what he does. That's the way he plays. And, I wouldn't try to change it. And, he signed with Newberry, and he's going down there. And I know Coach Davis is going to let him continue to play that way because that's the way Newberry plays, full speed ahead. So he'll go down there and fit in. And, great kid, loves the game. And he'll be one that I'll think about quite often. And then we had Big Sedarius that signed with Charleston Southern, and I'm looking forward to seeing him go down there and play in the Big South for Coach Raider Ball. And they're just a good group of kids this year, and they'll be on my mind.
Well, Coach, I know you don't have your legal pad in front of you for all these names, but when you look back at the players you have coached at Gaffney High School, talk about just a couple of them that come to your mind as being one of the best, basketball players you've ever coached.
Well, that list would be quite long, to be honest with you. Yeah. We've had some good ones. When I first got there, Lawson Clary was a senior, and I've put any kid since I've been at Gaffney that's made all-region or all-state or anything like that. I've got their picture up in our team room. And he was the first all-region player, but he was also academic all-state. So we've had kids like that, and had a 4-point-something GPA. He was just a great leader for us that first year. And then Darryl Tate stands out, comes to my mind. He played a couple of years at Limestone, a big post man we had. And then you come into the Sydney at AZ, Donald Sims, Philip Buxton, Hugh Wilkerson, era where we won three in a row. And I'm sure I'm missing somebody, leaving somebody out on that list that was all-state or all-region. And then Josh Pori came through, was actually named the High School Sports Report Mr. Basketball. L.J. Peak and Quinn Shod were together on our 2012 team. And, of course, Quinn Shod goes on to North Carolina and has a great career in football, is now actually a graduate assistant coach for North Carolina. And L.J. played this past year with the Celtics G League team and in New Zealand right now playing. Mm-hmm. You had Bubba and Michael Wright that both were two sport athletes, baseball and basketball. Bubba's coaching at West Side. Michael got on. He just graduated from Charleston, College of Charleston, and he's coaching down in Charleston area. So, just the list can go on and on. And, like I say, this year, Sedarius and Bradley both got college scholarships, and we're all region with Nick and Ladarius Foster. So there's been a bunch. I mean, I hate to call those guys out because I'm leaving somebody off probably, but, Gaffney is a sports town. The kids love to compete, and no matter what sport it is, and the fans support the Indians like crazy, and it's just been an honor and a privilege for me to have a chance to coach there.
Dean, I know you've got a question for Coach Huff in just a second. Coach, while we're talking about the players, what assistant coaches that you've had the chance to coach with will also be, I know that you probably leave some out too because you've coached with so many of them, but what assistant coaches come to mind when you think of your career at Gaffney High School?
Well, I've had some good assistants also. Mark Ironton was with me when we won our first state championship in 2003 and then 2004, and he left and went to Woodruff and coached at Woodruff High for a few years. Michael Dalton has been with me the longest. He was with me for 7 years and went to York High School for a couple of years and then came back home, he said he got over to York and the head coaching gig wasn't what he thought it was going to be. And so he came back and has been with me the past 3 years as my assistant. And then I've actually got two more assistants now that played for me, Philip Mackham and Philip Hambright. They were both on one of our state championship teams, and they're young kids and are really enthusiastic and do a great job for me. But, even at J.L. Mann, Jeff Harrelson was an assistant that went on to coach at Berea and Malden. Hob Chandler coached with me at Southside and was the head coach at Greenwood a few years. Jeff Kraft with me at Southside and was the head coach at J.L. Mann for 16 or 17 years, and then he had to step down a couple of years ago due to health problems. But that's another blessing I've had, just some great assistant coaches that love to work and love the game and, just help me out tremendously.
Coach, it's just, for 37 years and everything that you have done for the last several years, I know because I got to meet you in I think in about 08 or 09. I think it's when Daniel was playing. No, Daniel was about 2012. Somewhere in there, and Daniel got to play. We competed with you at Landrum with LJ and got to meet you there. And it just seemed to even keel the whole time, and I was very, I was impressed with how you handled yourself on the court and off the court, and it was just something that, just earmarked me as far as a parent and a fan of the game of basketball. What does a guy or a coach do after basketball? So, what are you going to do now?
Well, I love to hunt. That's one of my passions. My dad started me hunting when I was just a young kid and couldn't even keep up with him. We had some bird dogs, beagles, and I remember I'd get hung up in the briars. He'd have to come back and free me, and then I'd, keep up with him as best I could. But I've always loved the outdoors. I mean, just being outside. And I know I'll hunt a lot, but, you can't hunt 12 months out of the year. But, my wife, I'll spend more time with her, and our daughter's married, just lives right up the road from us, and be able to spend time with her and her husband, Dalton. So I'll be doing those things, but I'm still going to be around. I'm gonna go to football and basketball games, and I've been getting a lot of texts the last few days, and I've told guys, well, now I'll be able to, come watch y'all play, and won't be at Gaffney High Gym every night.
That's right.
or with my team, but built some great relationships. I mean, there are some outstanding coaches in the upstate area that I've gotten to know over the years. And actually, I've got two more boys that played for me at Southside, Clay Brazil and Rick Robertson, that coach at Greenville Tech Charter. And I've tried to go watch those guys play when I've had a chance. But as I said, when I'm coaching every Tuesday and Friday and, other nights too, I haven't been able to go watch those guys. So I'll be around. I'll be checking other people out and watching them. And, I've only got to see in my past a couple of Dorman Spartanburg games. I know what great rivalry that is. So now I can maybe go check some of those kind of games out and see how, other coaches do in the heat of the battle when you're playing your arch rival. Gym's jam-packed. Everybody's hooping and hollering. So it's going to be fun. I'll try to keep myself as busy as I can.
That's right.
Coach, you have talked about some of the players and the coaches that you've coached with, but, another tough question. This is going to be hard for you to probably think of just one, but in all the years at Gaffney, you've had a lot of close games, and you don't have to give me just one, but what are some memorable moments as far as the games themselves when somebody walks up to you at the store and says, Coach, what do you remember most about coaching the actual games at Gaffney High School? What games in particular over the years will stand out to you?
Well, as soon as you started saying that, the first thing that popped in my mind was a game when I was at J.L. Mann when we played at Clover for the Upper State Championship in, I guess it was 96, 97, 96, because that's the year we went to it. We actually beat Clover at Clover, and, there were some circumstances, and I won't go into detail, but, we went on the road up there, and the place was packed, and we didn't have very many fans that had a chance to get in the game, and we held on to win. I think it was about 3 points, and that got us to the state championship. I always remember that game. And then our battles with Lancaster when we were 4A, and we were playing those guys when Dwayne Hartsoe was there. And they had some great teams, and he and I have talked over the years. He had some really good teams, and he said, Coach, I just had them at the same time. You had your big teams with Sidney and AZ and Donald and those guys, and they couldn't get past us. And that was when we, won our 3 state championships in a row. The teams in our region, our games with Spartanburg, Dorman, Burns, and Bowling Springs, those games have always been great. And, one just standing here talking and thinking when Burns came to Gaffney in 2011, I guess it was 11, and upset us first round of the playoffs. That was a game I'll never forget. They missed a shot, and the kid tipped the ball in at the buzzer, and they beat us. And we were number one in the state. I think we were 22-2 at that time. And, season come crashing to a screeching halt, and you think, well, we got a shot, maybe win another one. But so there are a few that we've lost. It'll stick with me, and then there's quite a few that we won. Just, great atmospheres and great competition on the other side of the court. So a lot of fun.
Mark Huff joining us on the Saturday Sports Report, former basketball coach at Gaffney High School. Coach, when you sit back and look now and realize that Gaffney has an opening, who would you like to see? What kind of person, what kind of coach, not one person in particular, but what kind of person and coach would you hope to see that Gaffney hires in their next basketball coach?
Well, I hope it'll be someone that'll, be energetic and come in and, work hard. We have good kids. We have good athletes. Something I've always said and believe is coaching at Gaffney, no matter what sport it is, you're always going to have a chance to be successful. Yeah. Our demographics are very good, and the kids in Gaffney, they just love to compete. That's just the way they're brought up. And you can go to Love Field during football season and watch those little kids play football. And there's our rec department has a very good summer league in basketball, and those kids get after it from, I guess first or second grade all the way up. And our Little League baseball up on top of the hill up there is very good and very competitive. So the kids in Gaffney, they just get after it, and they love to compete. Yeah. And, somebody's got to come in there, I think, and that's another reason I felt I needed to step down is I've just lost a little of that passion, and need somebody who's going to come in there and coach them like I did 8 or 10 years ago, and just get after it with them. So the kids will play hard, I can tell you that, for whoever comes in there. They just need to match the intensity, and the town will support them. I know that. So it'll be a good opportunity for whoever is the next coach.
Coach, I know we've kept you on just a little bit long, but before we let you go, I have to ask, when you had those back-to-back state title runs and you had the players that you talked about on your team, take us through what a practice was like at Gaffney High School.
Well, like I said, I felt like all along with it, we practiced probably as hard as anybody. The style of play that we played was our full court pressing. We called it, red, and I've had people, holler from the bleachers because they'd hear me yelling, and our kids all know it. And to play that way, you have to practice that way. You have to practice hard and get up and down the floor, and especially in 04 is probably, somebody asked me this question the other day, what was the best team you had? Your 92 Southside team with Merle Code and Clay Brazil and Mike Minifield and Kendrick Meekins, or was it one of your Gaffney teams? And I said, I'd like to see my 92 Southside team play my 04 Gaffney team. That would have been a heck of a game. And, we had inter-squad scrimmages sometime in practice that were just fun to watch. With guys shooting threes and dunking and just pressing and getting after it. So, we'd get after it for 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. And then, as it got down, into the playoffs, we'd back off and not go quite as long, maybe quite as hard, because we needed our legs under us just for the way we played. And, I believe in the weight room. We've lifted weights. We'd start lifting weights 1st of August, and we'd lift weights all the way. If we played in the state championship on Friday, our last lift would be the Tuesday of that week. So I believe in weightlifting to build your strength and then to maintain it. So, there was never really a cakewalk unless we just had a game or two back-to-back, or it was getting down towards the end of the season when we really needed our legs. So they were fun, and they were intense.
I bet. Coach, I tell you what, we so much appreciate your time and taking time on a Saturday morning to come on with us and talk about your time and know that we have always appreciated everything you've done for us while you were the coach, everything you've done for us as far as the interviews and getting us information we needed. So we appreciate all of that and the time this morning, and we hope we still get to talk to you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Like I say, I'll be around, and I appreciate all y'all do for high school sports in the upstate.